Hi everyone, so welcome to week 4, and this week we're doing an exciting topic called relevant costing. Um, so it's the required readings for this week is chapter 10 of your textbook. However, the notes should be more than sufficient to prepare you for what you need to know for the exam. But I do encourage you to read the textbook as well, because you always get new insight and just an extra perspective if you read the textbook as well. And as always, that's the contents for this week. Just wanted to highlight that the objectives is to distinguish between short and long-term decisions, understand the concept of relevance, which is important, and in various elements, and distinguish between relevant and irrelevant information. And then we're going to calculate the relevant cost of a special order, and making or buy decision, as well as a closing down decision. Alright, so let's get into it. Okay, key terminology. This is almost the most important thing that you have to know in this terminology. Okay, the first thing is the definition of a relevant cost. Okay, now it is a future, in other words, it must still happen. It's a cash flow, so in other words, it must be cash, and then it must differ between alternatives. So notice how I use 3 different colors, just 3 elements. It must be in the future, it must be cash, in other words, if it doesn't affect your bank account in the future, it's not relevant, and then it must differ. So if you have a future cash flow that is the same between 2 alternatives, so I take option A and option B, and in the future 10,000 Rand is going to go out of my bank account for the same thing, whether I choose option B or option A, there will not be a relevant cost because it doesn't differ between the alternatives. Alright, so relevant costs and revenues are those future costs and revenues that will be changed by a decision. In other words, changed by the option that you take. An irrelevant cost is effectively the opposite of a relevant cost. It's a cost that does not differ between 2 alternatives and does not represent the cash flow. These costs and revenues will not be changed by the decision under consideration. So if you just remember future, cash flow, and differ, then anything that's not future and or not cash flow and or does not differ is irrelevant. Alright, so this definition is hugely important. Then an opportunity cost is the best alternative forgone, i.e. an opportunity that is sacrificed if the decision under consideration is made. So, for example, you just finished graduating. You have 3 jobs on the table. Job A is paying 10,000 Rand. Job B is paying 20,000 Rand. And job 3 is paying 50,000 Rand. If you decide to take the 50,000 Rand job, you forego job A and job B. And the best of job A and job B is 20,000 Rand. So the best alternative would be 20,000. So let's write this down. You have 3 jobs on the table. Job A, job B, job C. So job A pays 10,000 a month. Job B pays 20,000 a month, and job C pays 30,000 a month. If you decide to take job number C, so that's your decision, okay, then the best alternative, so then if you take, you can only choose one of the 3 jobs. So you decide to take job number C, then you forgo job A and B. Alright? And the best of A and B is 20,000 Rand. Okay, so in other words, the best alternative forgone by choosing job C is 20,000, and that's known as the opportunity cost. Alright, so let me say that again. The best alternative forgone by choosing job number C is 20,000, and that's the definition of an opportunity cost. The best alternative forgone. Right. Next definition: a sunk cost. A sunk cost is a cost that's already been incurred or irrevocably committed to. So, if you've already spent the money and you cannot get the money back, or there's no return or something on anything, for example, if you have a concert and you have to buy programs for the concert, and if no one ends up showing up to the concert, you've already spent the money on the program. So for the concert, that money that you've spent on the programs would be a sunk cost. Or if you've committed to it, so you haven't spent the money, so you decide you're going to open up a computer store where you're going to do computer repairs, for example. So you have to rent a space, and let's say nobody comes to have the computer repaired by you. You still have to pay the rental because you've committed to that rental. But that rental would be a sunk cost. So whether you later on decide to open up a video store instead of a computer store, that decision between a video store or computer store is not relevant because you've already spent the money on the rent for that space. Right, so it's either a cost that you've spent the money on or a cost that you've committed to. Alright, and then lastly, differential cost is just the cost that differs between alternatives. Alright, so this definition, I would say that relevant cost definition, extremely important. Opportunity cost and sunk cost definitions is probably the most important. So relevant cost, opportunity cost, and sunk cost is very important definitions that if you get that, you'll be able to do this module very well. Alright, so I'll check back in the next video. Cheers.